It began like every summer hiking trip they'd taken before. For friends, Daniel Rivers, Claire Maddox, Mason Hale, and Eva Crow had been doing these weekend treks since college. They were inseparable. Daniel, the self-appointed leader with a love for maps and compasses. Claire, with her bright red jacket and restless energy. Mason, the quiet one who always carried too much gear. And Eva, the photographer, forever lagging behind to capture one last shot. That morning in July, they parked at the Blackthorn Woods trailhead, joking about the no overnight camping sign nailed to the entrance post. You know, Mason said, glancing at the weathered letters. People say they put that sign up because hikers used to not come back. Claire rolled her eyes. Urban legends. Probably just to keep kids from partying out here. The sun was already warm when they set off, backpacks bouncing, cameras clicking. Their destination was an old stone rest shelter marked on a faded park map, Blackthorn Way Station, a relic from when the forest had once been a logging area decades earlier. The trail narrowed as they went deeper, the air cooling, shadows stretching across their path. At some point, the GPS signal dropped, but Daniel assured them he could navigate by the old trail markers. By late afternoon, they were gone. When they didn't return by nightfall, their families called for help. Search and rescue teams flooded the area. Dogs, helicopters, drones, but found nothing. No footprints past the 3rd-mile marker. No dropped gear. Even the damp ground by the creeks held no sign they'd passed. Local volunteer Ray Holcomb later said, "It was like they'd stepped off the trail and into thin air. The forest just took them." 2 weeks later, the search was called off. The case went cold. Over the next few years, they became just another unsolved mystery, the kind whispered about in the diner when the conversation turned to the woods. It was a cloudy morning in May when brothers Jake and Ryan Mercer decided to hike Blackthorn Woods. They weren't from the area, just passing through on a road trip, but they'd read about the scenic trails online. By the 2nd mile, the trees thickened overhead, blotting out much of the sky. The forest floor was damp and spongy, muffling their footsteps. The air smelled faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. Then they found it. The path curved into a small clearing dominated by a wide stone bench, half swallowed by gnarled oak roots. Moss and pale fungus clung to its surface. "This isn't on the map," Ryan said, frowning. The fungus wasn't like anything they'd seen. Bulbous white growths, branching like veins across the stone and spreading into the soil. In some spots, the surface had formed ridges and dips that looked disturbingly like human features. Eyes squeezed shut, mouths open mid-scream. Jake knelt down. These look carved, like someone made them. But when he brushed his fingers across one, the flesh-like surface yielded slightly, warm to the touch. That's when he saw it. A scrap of faded red fabric embedded in the fungus. The stitching was still visible, even after years of weathering. Jake reached to pull it free. The fungus twitched. It wasn't the wind. There was no breeze in that heavy, still air. The movement was subtle, like the bench had taken a slow, deep breath. The ground beneath them shifted, a faint tremor that rippled through the clearing. Somewhere deep inside the growth came a sound. Not quite a groan, not quite a sigh, but something wet and resonant. They bolted. That evening, in the local tavern, they told their story. The older patrons listened in silence until an old man at the bar finally spoke. "You saw the way station," he said, voice low. "It's where the missing end up. Not just those 4. Others before them, too. The forest. It feeds them to that thing. Keeps them." The bartender leaned in. "If you value your skin, don't go back there. Blackthorn Woods don't let go. Not once it's claimed you." Jake told himself it was a cold. The sore throat, the ache in his joints, the way food had started to taste earthy. Ryan wasn't convinced. He'd seen the rash on Jake's wrist, pale, branching, like frost over glass. And the cough. It left a dusting of fine white in the motel sink. That night, Jake dreamed of sliding into a damp, padded space as something warm folded around him. He woke with the soft certainty that he was not alone inside his own body. Ryan found the records in a dusty municipal ledger, names, dates, and terse notes going back to 1947. Dozens of disappearances, all near Lot 29 Stone Rest. A separate file contained photos. In one, the bench's surface was just beginning to pale. In another, frost outlined what was unmistakably a human mouth. He texted Jake, "We should leave. Tonight." Jake replied an hour later, "I don't think it wants us to." Mirabelle Klein, a mycologist at the local university, listened to Ryan's story without laughter. She examined Jake's rash in a photo and whispered, "That's hyphal growth. Mapping his nerves." Her conclusion, "It's negotiating." She agreed to go to the way station with them, under strict rules. No touching the colony, minimal disturbance, immediate exit if anything reacted. The bench had changed. The faces were clearer, calmer. Between two mouths, the red thread of Claire's jacket gleamed. Dr. Klein scraped a sample. Beneath the rind, woven filaments mimicked muscle and nerve. Then Jake stepped forward. The bench pulsed. A soft plume of spores rose, curling around his fingers before Ryan pulled him back. "We have to go," Klein said, sealing the sample. "Whatever happens next, happens quickly." The forest exhaled behind them. Under the microscope, Klein's sample glowed, part plant, part animal, part something else. Jake grew feverish, waking with dirt under his nails. On the third night, he disappeared. Ryan found him at the trailhead, calm and smiling. "It's not trying to hurt me," Jake said. "It's offering to make me part of something bigger than the lonely thing I am." The way station waited. Faces watched from the stone. Daniel, Mason, Eva, Claire's red thread weaving through them. Jake laid his palm on the bench. The rash faded as the surface yielded, taking him in gently, as if welcoming him home. When it was over, a new curve joined the other faces. Jake's cheekbone, Jake's eyelid, at peace. Ryan left without touching the stone. Weeks later, hikers found the clearing. They didn't know the names and the faces, but they stood in silence before them, sensing the weight of something older than loss. In a new seam along the bench, a faint red thread gleamed, pointing nowhere, pointing everywhere. The forest breathed. It was patient. It would wait.